Throws it to the end zone. Antonio with a touchdown for the Demons.
All the music. This song is a banger, by the way. If you didn't know that already, it is. And all the fun.
Colin, why you gotta lie to these people? I'm on your left.
You're what? What are you talking about?
You're directionally challenging these people. I'm always on your left.
Travis is on the ceiling right now. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. only on 91.7 The Demon.
You turn me on like a light switch when you're moving your body around and around. Now I don't wanna fight this, you know how to just make me want you to turn me on like a light switch when you're moving your body around and around. You got me in a tight grip, you know how to just make me want you, baby. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on and show me how you do. You want, you want, you want, you want, you want to keep you wanting you. Come on, come on, come on, come on and show me how you do. You want, you want.
And welcome in. Good morning to everyone. It's the Colin Vedros Show on 91.7 The Demon. Good to be with you. Didn't see me last week. Was going through some meetings and other things. You know how that goes. Got a special guest with us today. He's part of SGA, and he's also part of some Greek organizations as well. Alex Engstrom joins us on the show. Alex, how you doing?
Hi, my name's Alex. It's nice to meet y'all. I'm a good friend of Colin's. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. So I guess we'll start with the basic, what's the word? Like first day of school,
Yeah.
things or whatever. Tell me your name, your major, and what you're up like.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, I think my headphone just cut out. And can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So my major is philosophy, politics, and economics.
Good
so
Lord.
it's like a combination of a bunch of stuff I'm really into. It's a big reason I'm at NSU. I really like all the majors offered.
Yeah.
Other first day stuff. I'm from Baton Rouge.
Heck yeah.
I really enjoyed growing up there. I was only there for 3 years. Before
Wow.
that, I was in Texas. Before that, I was in Brazil.
Brazil?
I spent a lot of time moving around.
Dang, bro.
But yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to end up in Natchitoches. I'm really glad I'm at NSU.
Yeah, for sure. I guess what was the one thing that drew you to this place? Because a lot of people, from what I've understand, it's the great scenery, it's Front Street, it's seeing NSU, and nowadays NSU athletics are kind of on the up and up, so I could see that also. But tell me your perspective on that. Like, what was the thing that drew you in the most?
Yeah, so coming from Baton Rouge, I was around LSU. I've always known about a lot of different college options.
I can already hear the fight song being played in my head already.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that Death Valley stuff.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of things about NSU that I loved. A really big thing is my whole family, we came up for Inside View Day.
Okay.
And I met 4 or 5 adults who took so good care of me and my family and really, really cared. And seeing that personal attention and seeing the spirit of the campus, I knew that by the end of the day, I told my parents I wanted to be an NSU Demon.
Heck yeah, that's incredible. Got a good show for you today. Well, first of all, I know you didn't really see the Super Bowl that much. Did you kind of get the excitement from it?
Yeah, I do like football, but I only got about halfway through, and then I had to go home and do some homework.
Fun.
But I heard there was some big crazy play call at the end that the ref.
Yeah, it was this holding call. It was like he got his. What is the thing? I was watching the Patrick Netherton show in Shreveport, and he was saying like the fact that if you just even tug or anything, like anything on the body that you can, it'll be a call to penalty and instantly, and it doesn't matter who it is. And apparently in that moment they thought it was that. But my thing is, it's like, why are y'all letting it happen so late in the game? You know what I'm saying? Like that. It just seems kind of weird when that happens. I don't know.
And don't like refs let stuff like that happen all the time.
Exactly. Well, it's hard to be. I mean, right? You're looking at a human perspective, and it's like, okay, you're not going to catch everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then the ones that you do catch, everybody's going to complain about it. Like, oh, you should have called this.
Right.
You should have did this. Why are you putting us in there? I'm saying that as a Saints fan doing this 4 years ago. Whenever we had whenever we had the same problem.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. But you get that aspect of it also too. Being a human, you're not going to always see everything.
I in high school I had a bunch of little side hustles, but one of the big things I did is I was a soccer ref.
Oh, okay,
so I'm used to running up and down those sidelines.
Sure.
Just parents screaming at you and all that stuff. It's intense. I feel for those refs.
I think the LHSAA is kind of with being a referee in that. Talk to me about like how much impact you've seen from being a referee in that kind of sense.
Like personal impact, how I've changed. Yeah, probably the biggest thing for me was just dealing with so many adults who, for the first 18 years of my life, were people that I'm supposed to listen to and like all that stuff.
Right.
And now I'm making play calls about their kids and all this stuff. And I was wrong a lot of the time, but the rule is when you're a ref, you're supposed to stick through it and get all that done. As a referee, it was good money in high school. I mean, they pay you to get screamed at.
Yeah, that's fair.
I speak a little bit of Spanish, and being in Baton Rouge, a lot of the parents were Hispanic, so they would yell at me, and I would just have to pretend like I didn't know what they were saying.
But in your head, you were like, "Oh yeah, they were talking. They were talking smack."
I'm about to cry. Yeah.
I'm about to cry from that.
No, they're mean. Yeah.
Are they really?
I'm joking a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah.
I mean, but some parents can be like that though. Like, I mean, if you're very protective of that child and everything, and I mean, and I'm not gonna say I know about it because I have a dog. I mean, I'm just saying like I kind of
You get the sports perspective.
in a sense, yeah. But I mean, at the same time, like those parents have a right to do that. So,
They're paying
like,
money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and a lot of the times you'll see like high school parents like going into like you can't blah 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 blah. And they will defend their kid till the end. And I mean, you've seen that firsthand. I mean, that's just an insane thing. And me from playing in soccer, I've experienced that also. Like I've had moms screaming in the stands, "Let's go, Matt, let's go!" Yeah. And it's like they're so overhyped for it, but it's cool because that's what their kid wants to do, and that's what they're supporting, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. So you spent a lot of time like doing demon athletic stuff. I always see you out there.
Yep.
How has sports played a role in your life? Because obviously it's huge for you. You've got a whole show for it.
Yeah. I guess it's given me a reason to want to keep pursuing something greater than myself, right? You look at athletes and you look at how much will and determination they put into themselves. I mean, why not talk about it? I mean, there's a lot of people that don't really understand the whole scope of athletics. And some people don't really, like, they kind of tune a deaf ear to it, like, oh, yeah, whatever. Same thing with music and same thing with any kind of subject or whatever. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. My thing with sports is this. If you really want to go for it, you have the opportunity to. It's not like it's going to be held from you or anything like that. Now, some situations are better than others, right? I mean, certain people get X amount of numbers and other people get X amount of numbers. Some things just matter on genetics. Anybody can do sports. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're willing to be taught and willing to have that determination to move yourself forward, then I think it works.
Yeah, and we can totally see that at NSU with people like Emmanuel and people who, against all odds, have risen to the D1 level and done all these amazing things.
That's insane. Dude, I still can't believe, like, in July, getting that text message, like, we got Hansel, we got it. I'm like, what?
I'm sure a lot of other freshmen out there experienced this, but when I told my friends I was going to NSU, this was like the number one thing they were messaging me about. They were like,
that, yeah.
Yo, this dude's coming. I'm coming to visit you. And I had a bunch of friends come up to a basketball game. We saw him.
Really?
It was awesome. Yeah, the basketball team this year. I mean, you know better than I do.
Yeah.
It's so fun watching those guys.
Dude, it's amazing. And I'll tell you this, from watching it from the season, from the beginning of the season to now, and even before that, like I obviously we came during August and everything like that. I stayed over the summer, mainly just kind of working and going in and out. And I saw an impact on the community side that I've never seen before at NSU basketball. And it's not to say that McConaughey didn't do anything. Gibson, or head coach Gibson, like, he put a lot of effort into making sure they know that this is the community that we want to be a part of. And it goes back into it, right? You see Prather being filled every Thursday and Saturday. They have home games.
Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
The girls team too. I mean, everyone's killing
even
it.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too. They had one win in the 2020-2021 season whenever they were getting out of the pandemic. The next season, they get to 9 games. And I think they're about like 10 games right now.
Really?
So they've been progressing, and N&M's is doing an incredible job of coaching these student athletes and making sure that they're progressing to the next level. For a lot of what you've seen so far, and I know you're only a freshman that's just now getting his feet wet and everything like that, which, by the way, you're doing a great job of that as well, being a part of SGA and also some Greek life and stuff like that. What's been the biggest impact that you've seen so far with NSU, and kind of like what your association with people like SGA and Greek life, what have you seen from them so far?
Yeah, as soon as, even at Inside View Day at Freshman Connection, I could tell that a lot of organizations, but SGA especially, leaves a lot of impact.
Sure.
This year, the focus that Bailey Willis, the president, has really honed in on is mental health.
Yes.
She did a lot of work with that with the state government over the summer. This year, two really big initiatives that her and Eb, the vice president, were able to push.
Shout out to my guy, Eb.
Was getting the National Suicide Hotline on the back of all student IDs. They're still working on it. There's a lot of red tape to go through, of course.
Right.
But stuff like that is really setting good foundation for the future of NSU.
That's pretty incredible.
A lot of students probably noticed the syllabi this year were a little longer than they usually are.
Yes.
And that's because of the mental health statement that's on every syllabus, which, even though it may seem like it's just a few more pages, those pages can really impact more people than we expect.
Absolutely.
Speaking of SGA, elections are coming up,
Yes,
March
they
and
are.
April. So if anyone listening is interested in being a part of SGA, definitely file.
Yes.
It's going to open up March 6th. It's popular vote elections, all that stuff. Don't be afraid to run. More people know you than you think you.
That's fair.
Than you
Yeah.
think you do. And if you have questions, literally just walk into the SGA office. Everyone wants you to run. It's a super, super great organization.
Yeah, hear from Alex. Run for SGA. I mean, I've heard it's an incredible opportunity.
You should do it.
I've never had the opportunity to. Well, at least being elected, I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it is a really cool opportunity if you do get the chance to do it. I want to talk to you more about the mental health state because you're a big advocate on it, not only in Greek life but in also SGA.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the things that you've seen from other students currently that put you in a perspective of, hey, I can help this person.
Yeah. So you're a member of Pike, as am I. And I'm the health and safety chair
Right.
for the fraternity. And basically, I just make sure people don't die and all that stuff.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I took inspiration from SGA and from leadership all around campus. And we've established a mental health and a physical health chair. So on the mental health chair, we have an older Pike member, Caden Graves.
Yes.
And he's kind of just the guy that I told all of Pike, hey, if you need someone to talk to, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's a supportive person for you. Because even though NSU has lots of resources with the counseling office, which is free to go to, definitely recommend that.
Yes.
There is something about having an intimate, someone you can call brother, and I would encourage all organizations who have a community and want to build on that and support their membership, because I mean everyone's going through stuff. Everyone's got to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting though because you look at mental health and there's such a big push for it nowadays. Not just at NSU, but it's a bigger push nationally because you realize like, okay, physical health obviously you have to be at least sound on that. But not a lot of people will understand the mental aspect of it and how dangerous it can be if going the wrong way. I mean, you look at how much, and I'll just say as a man, it's a little bit, it's going to be different than it is from a woman. And so from the general perspective of men, and I'm just saying as a general blanket statement, a lot of times we have to kind of cover ourselves up and make sure like we're like the person for the family or whatever.
It's all that stability stuff.
Exactly.
Did you go to Leadership NSU this year?
Yes.
So that's another thing SGA did. We brought in a lot of speakers who talked about mental health. Or at least mentioned it in their workshops, and how important that is to leadership and how important that is to just like rather than pretending to be stable, you have to actually be stable.
Right.
And lean on other people and not feel like you're alone out there.
Right. And I thought it was cool too with the men's luncheon. That was a really cool thing too. And I went to that in November.
Another shout out to Eb. He was in charge of that.
Dude, that was nice. That was really
great,
cool.
yeah.
And you got to see a perspective of somebody that you don't really see every day. You know what I mean? Like the guy that came on,
he was so good, yeah.
He was awesome. He was talking about his son, or no, he was talking about
father,
himself.
yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about his dad and then how his dad passed away from...
He committed suicide.
Yeah. Talk to me about what makes you the most eager to have that kind of change. Like it may be something personal, maybe something that you've seen from an article or something from pictures. What's been your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to get personal. A few months ago, I had a friend who committed suicide.
That's crazy.
And it was obviously difficult and all that stuff. But watching me and my whole friend group from back in high school deal with that, and like you talked about, being a man and having to cope with all that stuff, it really has it has allowed me to appreciate all the stuff that we're doing at NSU, and just all the stuff that the whole world is kind of coming to do.
Yeah. I agree. And I mean, a lot of people understand it, but not really fully are.
Yeah, and so
applying,
many
yeah.
more people have had experiences with it. Like, as soon as I told some of my fraternity brothers about the incident, like, so many people say, I have an uncle, I have a granddad, I have men and women. Like, it's more common than we realize.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to take a break. We'll come right back in just a moment. Alex Engstrom joining us once again as we come out of the break. Don't go anywhere. It's the Colin Vedros Show on 91.7 The Demon.
Be sure to keep listening to KNWD 91.7 The Demon right here in Natchitoches, Louisiana.
You may think the well is dry. You may feel like toast inside. Take a breath and
Colin Vedros show on 91.7 The Demon. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second part of the show. It's your boy Colin Vedros alongside our guest today, Alex Engstrom. And Alex, we talked a lot about mental health and SGA coming back from the break, but I want to kind of get your opinion more on SGA and kind of like what's your thoughts more about that.
Yeah, SGA is doing a lot of really great initiatives. We just did a campus walk where we observed where all the lighting is poor around campus. We're working with Residence Life. There's a group with PLP, the Presidential Leadership Program, the Safety Committee, and they're working with SGA. That's something else that actually a lot of organizations should think about. Is if you ever need funding, if you ever need just manpower, if you ever need advice. SGA has tons of leadership across campus. There's a huge pool of funding for organizations, ORF.
Right.
I'm sure you know all about that, being president.
Yes.
SGA has a lot of great resources that people can take advantage of.
Awesome. So I guess my next thing is, what have you seen so far from NSU that you think may need changing, other than the stuff that y'all are working on right now?
Something that stood out to me in my first semester was a lot of people talk about pre-COVID.
Yes.
And not that things are bad now, but just that there was a lot of things that have been lost.
It's a different sense now.
You were here before then, right?
Yes.
So I mean, you must have thoughts on that.
That tells you how old I am, for one. It felt like it was a community and things. It didn't feel like it was a lot of space here, and then something would happen, and then another space, and then something would happen.
Yeah.
I feel like now it's kind of like it kind of feels like a little bit of quarantine in a sense, but everything's so individualized in a sense also. So if you look at it from a group perspective, you're only seeing a couple of people at a time. You're not going out and see it. And then again, you see the other side of it where it's like 100 people at one time at some events and everything. But
I mean, you just hosted one. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, Battle of the Bands was shout out to
huge. I saw it. Yeah.
Shout out to Open House for winning that one. That was a really good show.
Great, yeah.
Good turnout too. We had about 350 people, something like that, or at least the people that voted in the fan vote. And they'll be performing in Demon Fest, which, by the way, is April 15th. 60 days out from today, so make sure to come out. Yeah. Still working on the headliner and sub-headliner. Can't give any big details yet, but we're still working on that. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of people there, and it was a lot of different groups of people also.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just one kind. And you got to see a sense of everyone coming together from music. And I thought that was beautiful, and I thought that was really inspirational in the fact that there still is a sense of like that here. My question to you is this, and I know you haven't, and like I said before, I know you're still trying to get your feet wet and everything like that. What's one thing you want to do whenever you leave out of here saying, I did this and that I feel like I accomplished myself really well if I do this one thing?
Yeah.
And it might not be just one thing. It might be a couple things. It might be two or three, whatever.
There are a ton of things that I want to do before I graduate, for sure. One big one that I've started to cultivate this semester is a student organization that I founded alongside some other SGA members. It's called Demons in Government.
Okay.
Or DIG.
Dig.
You dig
Nice. You dig.
And it's going to be really great. We've taken a lot of steps, and basically what the organization is it's helping NSU students identify, apply, and even fund internships with the U.S. government.
Oh, okay.
So this year, the only 4 of us, but we're some of us are trying to go to D.C., some of us are trying to go to the state capital, Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Bailey Willis, who's a member, is trying to go to Dublin.
Wow.
So it's an organization that I think we're setting seeds for right now, definitely, and building strong foundations. We're meeting with the people we need to meet with. Yeah. But that's the kind of organization that I hope to come back in 8 years or however long it is,
right?
And see more students benefiting from it, because it's only been a semester and it's already done so much for me and the other members.
That's pretty incredible. I guess what's the big difference between that and SGA, or at least what's the liaison between that?
Yeah, they're not connected, and it's not like we pull funding from them entirely, and stuff like that.
So is it more just like the people that are involved with it, pretty much?
It just so happens that I wanted the founding group to be small.
Yeah.
And the people who were most interested in government, at least that I was around. And granted, I didn't do any kind of outreach, and that's on me. But I found 3 really, really great people who are interested in government, know a lot. Nicholas Cooksey, Mary Scruggs, and I already mentioned Bailey. And we're really trying to set a good foundation for this, because there's so much potential at NSU for people to get involved in local, state, even federal government.
I believe in that, yeah.
And all it takes is an avenue for Demons to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good thing, too, because you're seeing another side of people that want change instead of just the main SGA. Like, I feel like nowadays people hear resolutions and it's like, okay, they're doing this thing and then going from there. But it's a little bit different. I mean, nowadays you're more hearing about like, okay, how can we impact this? How can we do this? What's one thing that you wish you could have accomplished that you haven't, or had the opportunity to and wasn't able to do that?
Like at NSU this year?
Yeah.
I'm working with a group at PLP right now, the Presidential Leadership Program.
Yep.
And I'm on the literacy committee. We're doing a lot. And we're struggling right now to get some stuff off of the ground. So granted, I think we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to do it. But we were hoping to do a few programs with some local high schools, and it was just difficult. It's difficult to do that kind of stuff. So there are little things like that that I wanted to get done on my first year, and whether it be time or just fell through. So some stuff doesn't work out, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like we were saying before, like we're not going to catch everything. I mean, you even with referees, like you would think at the top of your lungs at the TV, you should do this. You think they're going to change it.
Yeah.
But it's really going in and actually articulating like what actually we can do and what actually can happen. So we'll kind of step aside from SGA and mental health for just a second.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about Greek life, because you come in as a freshman and already on an executive board for an organization. Talk to me about like how much that puts an impact not only on yourself but the members that are in it as well.
Yeah. Like I mentioned leadership NSU earlier, there is a dynamic to college where you'll be younger than someone and have to tell an older person what to do. You can be a senior like yourself and you're in charge of freshmen, guys just out of high school.
Right.
And the idea of a fraternity, and TJ Sullivan, one of the speakers at Leadership NSU, told me this. He said, it's a bunch of 20-year-old dudes trying to teach 18-year-old dudes how to be men.
That's pretty much, yeah.
And that analogy extends to all organizations. Like, college is a funny time.
Very.
I'm a freshman calling my brothers who were 3 years older than me, about to have salary jobs next year, and asking them to do these things for me. And it's difficult. It's really pushing me as a leader. But that's what college is for, and that's one of the reasons I joined Greek Life. It's not for everyone, but I definitely recommend it for people who are at least interested in it.
So Pi Kappa Alpha,
right.
That's the org that we're in. What is one of the things that you like seeing out of that organization?
Yeah. So when you, if people aren't familiar, when you rush, you kind of look at all the different fraternities or sororities,
yes.
and you see which one you would like to join. It's something that stood out about Pike for me was the brotherhood and the guys, and how well people get along and push each other to be better men, and push each other to improve and hold each other accountable. But at the same time, there's a safety net of it's okay if you fail.
Right.
And that's something that, living 3 hours away from Baton Rouge and coming to a place where I really only knew one or two people from high school, I knew I would need that safety net because people fail. And I've utilized that safety net and stuff like that you can get out of other organizations for sure.
Sure, yeah.
But it's something that I found super, super helpful.
It's interesting, too, because you mentioned that being from Baton Rouge, 3 hours away, and I kind of feel you on that aspect because I'm 4 hours away. I'm not that much. I'm only about an hour away from you, something like that. What's been your and I've done this for 5 years, so I kind of know how this kind of puts on your mental capacity or whatever.
Yeah.
What is the worst part about moving all the way 3 hours away? Because there's some good sides too, right? You get out and you get to experience another city, another town. But I guess what's been like the bad parts about it, because not everything's going to be in a good light, not everything's going to be in a bad light either.
Yeah. My whole life, my family moved around every 3 or 4 years to new schools, all that different stuff. So I was definitely used to being in a new city, new set of people and all that. But losing both, like, easy access to both of my parents, and I have a little sister, and my little sister has kind of been my best friend my whole life because I move so much.
Right.
So not being able to get home and just talk about my day, and they talk about their day for 4 hours. Like everyone listening in college knows you can call them, all that stuff. But there's something about getting home, hugging your mom, hugging your dad, hugging your sister, and saying, "This is what I did today." And it's more natural. But it hasn't been too difficult.
Okay.
I know that's not the experience for all freshmen.
Right.
But as long as I go home every so often, it's not like I'm really struggling too much.
Right. You don't feel like you're being desensitized in that sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. Desensitized. I think a lot of people, and just looking at the news today, by the way, thoughts and prayers and action for the Michigan State family and all of East Lansing, all of Michigan. Such an incredible aspect of this country and how much impact that we've tried to make on this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're just going over and over and over. Talk to me about your perspective on what's next after this, or what it should be after this kind of thing.
I mean, like you mentioned, stuff like this is so hard to deal with, and the issues are so complex and so layered that it's kind of difficult to say, okay, this is the perspective, this is the answer.
Right.
Because that answer is going to change in 5 years as people grow older, all that stuff. But yeah, I'm really just hopeful, because I know that as a country and as humanity, we've gotten through worse. And it is pretty scary. It definitely feels like we're at a turning point in some ways. But yeah, I really just think none of us have the answers, and I just got to cross my fingers and do what I can.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And that starts with doing stuff on our campus. I mean, I haven't done anything to maintain campus safety, like personally, but like the group is working, the safety group and presidential leadership program and SGA doing the campus lighting walk and all that stuff. There are little things we can do, and supporting people with mental health issues that can make our campus better and make people feel safer.
Absolutely.
But it's also a problem that probably isn't going to go away in our lifetime, which is really sad. But.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that people won't understand about it that we don't even really understand ourselves.
Of course, yeah.
And I mean, it's important to have that unity aspect to it, because a lot of times you'll see people, oh, we have to blame this, blame that. Why are we not putting ourselves in position to work together for these kind of goals?
Yeah.
And when you look at how much things have changed over the years, not everything is going to stay the same, and not everything is going to change.
Yeah.
But it's actually willing to want to get that to the promised land, to that point B. That's really what it's going to take. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's not just going to be one person. It's going to be a whole community. It's going to be a whole state. It's going to be a whole nation of people.
It's got to be a movement. Yeah.
It's got to be a movement. It has to be something. It has to be something going on that makes you want to do X, Y, and Z. Because you're not just going to do it free will off of, I got this one thing, let's just go do it.
Yeah.
You have the drive for it. You have the ambition to do it. Let's go ahead and do it, and make sure that we do it at 100%. Because if you don't do it at 100%, one, somebody's going to know. And two, you're not putting your full effort into that kind of thing.
Yeah. And in relation to that, something I'm grateful for is I see the spirit and the movement that you're talking about in people our age, whether it be on social media as a whole or just on a personal level.
Which is good.
It's clear that we want change.
Yes.
It's so evident that we're waiting for the world to look different when we're older, which again ties back to the idea of hope, which is so important. Like, we are going to be okay.
Yes.
And as long as we keep that in our head, that's the best we can do.
I agree with that. Alex Engstrom joins us on the show. We'll take one more break, and we'll come right back with the action. It's the Colin Vedros Show on 91.7 The Demon.
Here's the thing, we started out friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend. Yeah. Since you've been gone, you're dedicated, you took the time. Wasn't long till I called you mine. never stricken by a bullet, but I still learn to march. Now I'm playing tricks to make a profit, so I can make a little bit more for myself. Turn the trick to ego in my mind, but I'm not gonna be forced by myself. I've never been part of a problem that I did not ignore or scorn.
It's the Colin Vedros Show, only on 91.7 The Demon. I got my guy Alex Engstrom with us this morning, and we've had some pretty good conversations so far. But like we've kind of, I guess, edged out before, the conversation never stops.
Yeah.
And when you look at, I guess, what's the word? When things are fluid and you're wanting to work for something, and you're willing to go the extra mile for it, how much determination do you think we can talk about 10,000 hours, we can talk about a certain metric of it, but how do you know that you're motivated for something? Like you just feel it, or it's some kind of being that you're attached to or something you're drawn to? Like, what is it for you?
Yeah, I like that you said, what is it for you? Because it really is different for everybody.
Of course.
For me, I just really want to do the best that I can do.
Yes.
And be the best that I can be. But it's also like, I understand that that's an unattainable goal.
Right.
And to expect that of anybody is ridiculous. So the motivation, I think, is being grateful for what you have. I'm grateful, try to be grateful for what I have and improve the life of others around me and try to leave a positive impact everywhere I go. I mean, that goes back to when I mentioned I moved around a lot.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of times in my life where like I've set something in place and then I've left and seen how that thing changed, saw how other people benefited from it or how things failed. So that drive to want to leave an impact is real for a lot of people.
That's incredible.
And that's a spirit that a lot of admin at NSU, like so many people who stay here and want to see the community improve and build on what we already have.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's and you'll kind of see it when people leave and other people come in, and some people want to stay, some people want to go and then come back. What is the draw for you? And I know we talked about you coming on and seeing your perspective on like how you came here, but what was the draw for NSU specifically? Not just Natchitoches, because you can talk about whatever all day, but besides the people here, what was the thing that drew you in the most, in a sense?
Yeah, so generally when I was applying to colleges and universities, I cared a lot about the curriculum.
Okay.
I was a huge dork. Every summer I would go to nerd camps and read books and do all that stuff.
Fun.
So something that I looked for in a school was a great books program. And what that is You can just look it up. They're the great books, and it's all these classical texts. And it's super common in liberal arts schools. They'll have an entire program where it's a part of the core curriculum.
Okay.
And at NSU, the Honors College, it's called the Scholars College.
Yeah.
A lot of people know, but some people don't. I'm always surprised. Has that core curriculum, great books program in there. It's called Texts and Traditions.
Okay.
So for the first 4 semesters, every Scholars kid is required to take it's called TNT, Texts and Traditions, and you read a different set of books each semester.
Oh, wow.
So the first semester, we read a lot of core texts. You read everything. We read the Bible. We read the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Hindu religious text.
Yeah.
We read a lot of Greek lyric, and you really touch on everything. That's actually the class I'm going to next at 11 o'clock.
Wow. Okay.
And we read Cicero this week. And he
Cicero.
talked about, it was called On Friendship. So you can kind of tell it's not traditional memorize a few chapters and then spit it out on a test, which is education, of course, but it's more of what I mentioned earlier, that self-improvement, and learning from thousands of years of human experience. And that's something a great books program could provide, and that's something that the Scholars College could provide for me, and that's a really big reason I'm here.
Talk to me more about the Scholars College because,
Yeah.
you know, it's its own being in a sense. Like it's part of NSU, but not also.
Yeah, it's different.
You know what I mean?
And even like SGA is different.
Yes.
We have it's called Forum Council.
Yes.
Which is interesting. It's called Forum because of a bunch of like Greek nerdy stuff. But
Yeah.
it's super cool because kind of like everyone gets a say. Congratulations, the newly elected freshmen Forum Council members, Madison and Elena.
Ooh.
And it's great. So they meet every week. Other stuff that the Honors College does. Aside from having our own governing body, we had a conference this weekend with Grambling, like an honors college conference.
Okay.
So there is a lot of stuff that happens internally. Like we're having a casino night this month that the Forum Council's throwing. So for me, like going back to your question about why did I choose NSU, I'm able to get that sort of liberal arts small school experience at the Scholars College, where there are only like 20 people in my freshman class. So I know everyone super well, but I still can be at a university that has a robust radio station like this and
Right.
has all these things that I knew I wanted. So yeah, that's a big reason I chose NSU, a big reason I chose Scholars.
Awesome. Okay. I guess final thoughts for you. Anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you want to talk about?
Again, run for SGA, super awesome.
Do that.
March 6th, filing will open. There's a pre-law society meeting today. It's called Phi Alpha Delta. It's actually at the Scholars College building, Morrison Hall.
Okay.
It's at 5 o'clock, if anyone's interested. The head of LSU Law Admissions will be here
Wow.
the day of the career fair. So I think that's the 26th.
Okay.
So anyone out there, if you're even kind of interested in law, come ask some questions. It's super helpful.
That's a bet. Alex Engstrom on the show. Thank you for joining me
Yeah, thank you.
today. Pretty good show today. And we will tune in back next week. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify by searching in the Colin Vedros Show. And you can also check us out on TuneIn and Instagram at KNWD Radio. For my guy Alex, I'm Colin Vedros saying so long from Natchitoches. You're listening in to 91.7 FM KNWD, The Demon.